allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you. Welcome to our workshop, and we'll just get started. Do you have an intro, Mr. Weichel?
Susan's here. She's going to talk a little bit about the early literacy program.
Yes. Now, John very graciously gave me 15 minutes. And there's
She's
no.
going to give you 20.
The last, I think it's an hour. And there isn't, this is going to be fast and dirty compared to what really goes on in this program. So if you'd like to have the back part two,
Sure.
I'd be glad to come. Okay, this program, I'm Susan Benazzi, for anybody who doesn't know me. Everybody does, huh?
And we're recording so people watch it too. So
People, this is recorded.
this is recorded. Yeah, we
Just
posted it.
smile
Yeah.
right there. So
Yeah.
This program started 12 years ago, 13 years ago actually. I retired in 12. And so I picked up the idea of this long before that. A lot of talk in the schools, and I have a speech and language pathology background as well, and things just made a lot of sense to me. And so I thought, you know what, if not now, when? So I jumped in, both feet. No money. And so what we did, first you have to know some background about why this goes on, why we do this, okay? So 0 to 3 is an incredible learning time. Everybody's pretty much on board with that. People know that now. The synapses in their little brains are snapping like crazy. 85, they say 85% of everything you're gonna know, you learn in the first 3 years, and 95% up to 5 years old, your brain takes in that much information in that time. So I would always think of the old Desmond Tutu. He used to say, why are we dragging them out of the river? Why don't we go upstream and see why they're falling in? This makes a lot of sense to me. The school district does a great job, starting with preschools, and not just here, but there's a lot of kids in this district who go to preschool. But there's 0 to 3, we're missing out on a lot of work that could be done. And so I jumped right in there because, like I said, have you ever heard of the 300 million word loss? Word gap? Anybody? Anybody?
No.
Well, there was a study done in Kansas years ago. Actually, it's probably 30 years old, by Risley and Hart. And what they did was they studied 3-year-olds and counted the number of words that were spoken in the home. It was the study lasted 3 years. And what they came up with is that a lot of times low-income families or families in trouble or in crisis, those kids don't have the amount of language spoken to them, and they don't have the amount of words read to them. So it's incredibly important, and this is what I observed in school. So I taught kindergarten and first grade for lots and lots of years. And they would come to school, and they're so bright, and they're so perfect, and they're so precious, and they all want to learn to read. But 6 weeks in, I can tell you that we know who's going to struggle and who's not. It's not that they're not loved, because they definitely are. But there is the Disneyland parents who those kids have tons of experience. They go places. A lot of times their parents are professional. They have books all over their house. Those kids have a language background, okay? These kids that are not in that category sometimes can come to school with so few words in their vocabulary, okay? Now, maybe they've been spoken to, they're spoken to, but we only have between 2,000 and 3,000 words that we say every day, okay? So, in normal conversation. So what they're missing is rich language. And rich language Okay, so those kids come in and they learn to read, most of them, but by the time they get to third grade, you start to see a big difference. Because they don't have the vocabulary, they don't understand the words, so therefore their comprehension is lower, and they struggle. That's not to say that that's the only reason, because there's a whole world of different ways to teach kids. But this is one fraction that is cheap, and it's important, and it's doable. But it will take a culture change in this community, okay? Or in a lot of other communities. So, what rich language is, I'm just gonna give you an example here, okay? When I'm talking about what rich language is, like this little bird says, "Oh, that's too bad, squawked the mangy old crow." Okay, so mangy is a rich word that kids don't generally hear and use, but in a book setting, they're exposed to all of those things. Okay, so what we do then, and research is huge on, and they say that, like for instance, it indicates the quality of words that is spoken to a child in their first 3 years of life is strongly associated with their language skills, okay? So reading then comes on top of that, and that enhances those skills. So, and it will affect their IQ. I mean, later in life, if you don't have the experiences and you don't have all of those factors that all the other kids have, it does get in the way. That's also not to say that they don't ever succeed, because they do. But it's harder, okay? So currently, this is what we do. We deliver, or I deliver, age-appropriate books and toys to babies and toddlers, birth through 3. And then I also give them a milestone paper, like see it's a 1-year-old. They'll get something like this, okay? And they get a little fuzzy little book thing to go with it. And then the parents also get this little bit of information. It's very light, very easy, okay? So that's what I do, but that is only the frosting on the cake, because that's just getting in there. So our main purpose, my main purpose, is to educate the parents and the community in how important, what the monumental necessity of reading to your children is. And then secondary, making relationships. That's my main job right there, is making those relationships. Okay, how do we do it? We try to identify all the babies and toddlers born in Platte County, okay? That doesn't necessarily mean born in our hospital. They might be born in another, okay? So how we do that is through the hospital. We have a partnership with the hospital. And when a baby is born there, they receive a gift from Platte County Early Literacy, and it's a basket, and it has all the kind of good, fun stuff. There's books, there's baby stuff, there's things that would appeal. We give them this darling little onesie that says, "Read to me." And some of this is donated from the community, but most of it comes out of this budget. But the thing that they love the most is that the hospital, after lots of, anyway, the hospital gives them a meal to take home. It's just a big pan of lasagna, it's frozen lasagna, and they get to take that home, okay? So we try to sign anybody that isn't already signed up that when they were in the hospital, okay? I used to do the birthing classes. I didn't teach them how to have a baby, I taught them how to read books to their babies, and it was so much fun, so engaging, touched a lot of kids. We have partnership with the doctor's office, so the well baby checks, the doctors, or whoever they're checking with, offers them, always asks, "Are you reading to your children? Are they enrolled in this program?" And then every baby that is born that lives here, I mean, I don't know but now they all have to have a gestational test for diabetes before, at 6 months or something like that. So most of those people come to our hospital have that. And then when they're there, we give them a packet, and it has books, it has, paper to, sign if we can get it then, that's another good way. So, then we have public health, DFS is a big one. Wayland Early Child Development, Parks and Rec, they don't give me the opportunity to sign, well, they don't pass out stuff and collect it for me, but they give me lots of opportunities to find parents with kids. Daycares, advertising, which I don't do as much anymore because it's expensive. Word of mouth, of course, social media, lots on social media. And I'm gonna tell you what, HIPAA is not my friend.
No.
It is not my friend. Because, I mean, it would be so nice if they just tell me, but no, you have to jump through all these hoops to get those names, you know? Sometimes I even read it in the newspaper. But here's the thing, with all of those things that we do, just when you think that you have all your ducks in a row, then the staff turns over, people, this, that, and the other thing, I'll go to the doctor's office and say, how you doing on books and what are you doing? And they go, I don't know what you're talking about. It's a whole new ball game, so it's constantly hitting it all the time if you're gonna do that. Okay, so I did that. So currently, or most of the time, we have between 230 and 250 families. That's a lot. That's,
It's amazing.
if I do say so myself, pretty impressive. However, like the other day, I counted through, we had 217, I go, that's a little light, but in the next 2 weeks, I had 9 new babies, or toddlers. But that number is fluid, right? Because 3-year-olds come out, and the 6-year-old, or the 6-month-old babies and the new babies come in. So it's not always just that, but this is pretty much the number that I use to, set my budget on, okay? So, like I said, I make a delivery each month to the children. I have it based all on when their birth month is. So, like, is this September? September, I got all the 6-month-olds, the 1 and 2 and 3-year-olds that have birthdays this month. Then I make a plan to go and visit all of these people, take this stuff to them. Okay, but taking a book, reading the parents, it's just a small part of it, because that's we have to make relationships. Because a lot of these people, well, I mean, like the Disneyland ones, they are so open to it, and they so are appreciative and everything, but you know, I'm gonna tell you something. The statistics or whatever out there say that even people who say they read to their kids every night don't. They don't. Because life is hard. And you don't always get that done. I mean, when I had 5 kids at home, I didn't know where they were all the time. Right? So, never mind, that's a whole new thing. Okay, so many times, I'm the first person that they meet that has anything to do with the school system, okay? So I wanna make a nice impression on them. I don't wanna be a pushy, I'm coming into your house, they don't like that. I mean, some people do it, invite you in and want you to make a big, but sometimes they just, especially people who are maybe on the edge of maybe literacy, maybe poverty, maybe have bad experiences of their own in school, you know? So I need to get my foot in the door. And I want you to know that I visit a wide variety of families. And some of the places I go are to me, shocking. And I mean, not shocking as in, oh my God, I gotta call DFS, but sad. That's more like it. And so when I run into those families, there's the ones that I know probably need my attention, okay? So when I run into that, like for instance, a couple months ago, I went to this house knocked on the door, and the mother came to the door and she's crying. And I told her what I was there for, and she said, I just can't. She just was so overwhelmed. She was a single mother, she had 3 kids, she was trying to work. I mean, so I just handed it to her. And I said, do the best you can. And I left her alone, and about a couple weeks later, I called her back. And I said, this is Susan. Is there anything I can do for you? What can I do? What can I do to help? Sometimes they'll take some advice on how to read to their kids and that kind of stuff. But most of all, places like that I go just need a little hands up. And I do what I can. I get them where they need to be, or I take care of it myself. But these are the parents that are probably not gonna come to the parent-teacher conferences, or they're reluctant, you know who they are. Yeah, so, okay, so the other places that you'll see me around town, I'm everywhere, that their kids are when there's stuff going on. It's exhausting. So like I go to the kids' day at the fair, with the Lions Club puts on, and I set up a booth and I try to catch everybody's, my husband says I stalk children. I don't think I do, but maybe whatever you have to do to get them. We have a community baby shower in town. You guys familiar with that? That is a rocking place, let me tell you. They give out good stuff. So if you know parents with toddlers, they need to go, man. I mean, somebody got a big old container of beef. I mean, good stuff. I was gonna sign up. Okay, so I go to the Christmas in July, I go to the fair parades, because I need to be visible in the community. And every now and then, when they run out of people to talk to their clubs, like the Lions Club and the Boys Club, they'll call me and I'll go and I'll give my little spiel to them. And the thing is they say, well, why do you want to tell this to a bunch of old people? And I go, because old people are grandparents. And grandparents have huge influence on children. Okay, so these are the people that we have partnership with in this community. DFS, the hospital, Child Find, I go to those, public health, the medical clinics, Project Safe, WIC, Police Department, Chamber of Commerce, the Wanderer, who is, by the way, the bread and butter of this. They do so much for this community. And at a reduced rate, let me tell you, they are awesome. VFW, churches, Platte County Community Development, Chamber of Commerce, did I say that? Banks, never been turned down by anybody from a bank. And then also, in the last couple of years, I don't know if it's gonna happen this year, but I've gotten personal donations from families that wanna donate to the project because they think it's important. So that's always helpful. That money never touches my hands. I don't want anything to do with it. We just have them write a check to the Wanderer, and then we buy what we need, and it all comes out of that, so it doesn't have to go to the school district. So if that's against the law, don't tell me, because I don't want to know. So, first of all, this program was awarded.
Look that one out.
This program was awarded the Leaders in Literacy, the Carol Mead Leaders in Literacy Award. And it's sponsored also by the University of Wyoming Research Center. And we were awarded that a couple of years ago, and that was a huge blessing to me. I was very, very pleased to be recognized around the state for what we were doing here. However, almost done. We're not even halfway there. There's so much more that could be done in this community. And the thing is I'm a one-man show here. And I would like to have a community of people who give me ideas, or, when you come together, you go, well, I have exhausted everything, and then somebody goes down, and well, I never thought of that. I needed a community. that would be helpful to me. Because I would like to see there be parent education classes for fun. Bring them in, you have to feed them. It's kind of like the book and the bite. Let me tell you, when that started, that was one of the very first things we started up here. And our very first book and a bite, there were 11 people there and that counted the parents. And now they have between 200 and 300 people every time they have it. It's amazing. It's an incredible program. The school district used to help fund that. They don't anymore. They have some grants, and the county, our poor little broke county, realizes the importance of that program. So that's wonderful. We have preschool. We have story hour and stuff like that. But if that doesn't it reaches the literate families. It doesn't always reach the people that are struggling or that just don't know and don't understand. And once you get past the getting them to understand the importance, then you need to teach them how to do it. Because it's a wonderful opportunity for bonding with parents and for kids to start to enjoy literature. This is another thing that I brought. Isn't that cute? I just accidentally, this is the Spanish version. Because we do have Spanish, not lots. But I get everything printed up in Spanish. We have 5 babies born in Platte County last month that are Peruvian. They're coming. Okay, this was also a shocker. And then I swear I'm done. Peruvian.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so do you know how many babies are born in Platte County? You ever get the vital statistics and look? Anybody? No? Okay, so like I've been going on the assumption for the I pick these up every now and then, and I've been going on the assumption from a couple of years ago that there's between 55 and 65 babies. That's kind of what goes with who goes to kindergarten. So this year I was kind of shocked. They had 70 kindergartners, and that doesn't count the daycares. I'm like, whoa, where'd that come from? So I got on the statistics and I pulled them up, and we had 98 babies. We got some kids coming, if they don't move away. 34 of them were born in our hospital. The rest of them are all born out in all over the state. We have also the Sacred Birth Facility. They're born there. So if there are 98 kids, I'm not even getting half of them, I don't think. Or I don't think I have half of them now. I used to think I had 65%. But this really worries me. So start over, start back in. We have to make more contacts with the hospital. I have to make more contacts with all of these people to make sure that we're covering as many kids as we can. There. What time is it?
Very good.
3 minutes over.
Very good. We got some time for questions. Board members, you guys have any questions?
What are you looking at me for?
I talked so fast you probably didn't hear a word.
No, yeah, I missed half of it, I apologize, I just left work, but 2 comments. One, Andrea was 6 months old when we left Pennsylvania.
When you left where?
Pennsylvania, that's where she was born. We moved to Indiana, and the first thing that I did to meet people was I took her to story time.
Yeah.
At the library.
Mhm.
So a year later, we moved to Wyoming. I took her to the library in Goshen County. Made a friend. 4 months later, we were moving to Wheatland. That friend had a connection here, and the rest is history. I'm still friends with all of those same people from story time.
The library truly is the heartbeat of the community, in my opinion.
So I truly appreciate any and all of your efforts on that. And those single moms that are crying, maybe not to the person that knocked on my door, but I've been there.
I know.
And
I
if you ever
understand
need
that.
a resource there,
I
something I
understand
can
that,
help with.
totally understand
You call me.
exactly. And I've been around, like I said, I'm probably the oldest, no offense to anybody here. Not even you.
Almost.
It has been, we have been in the district somewhere or another since 1985. I've never stopped even after retired. I would volunteer 2 times a week in Libby and do nothing but literacy stuff. And then dang it, they go to the middle school and they don't really want to see you anymore. They don't want their Mackie coming to school. But, I mean, so therefore, I do have relationships with a lot of those kids and a lot of those families, but yeah, get prepared. We're gonna need another teacher, not me.
That's what I'm gonna say, kudos to you, that's a huge load.
Yeah,
That's a
thank
lot
you
of
so
stuff.
much for what you're doing.
Well, it's vital. It's the thing is everybody here, we have to support it. We have to make our noise. We have to make, you see kids, you have to ask. Because I can't be, although I am, feels like it, but also I am obviously in the older generation. I know a lot of parents, I know a lot of kids that I had in school who now have kids. But there's now another generation coming in that I'm really not familiar with. And I do find some on Facebook, but I don't do like TikTok and that other thing, because I don't know how. And Wanderer, but see, there it is again. That's where you get.
A certain group.
I think there's a lot more working families now than there used to be, so.
Well, and there's a lot of people in poverty.
Mhm.
I mean, and like this mother, she said, I can't get a job because I can't pay a babysitter on $10 an hour, whatever she makes. So, I mean, I have a huge sympathy for her. So I directed her to DFS, they already had her own, but the food bank and this, that, and the other, trying to fix her up with it. I mean, that isn't really my job. I try to direct them to people that do know what to do. So there you go. That's it? You don't have any more questions?
You covered it really
You
well.
explained it very well.
Yeah, like I said, he knows, because he wanted to know about the program, and I said, come to my house, because I have too much stuff, and I'm gonna drag it up there, and I had him captive in my house for like 3 hours. He tried to back out the door, and I said, wait, there's more.
Thank you, Cindy.
Thank you, Susan.
If you wanna know more, just call me. See ya.
Sounds good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
See, somebody has to be in charge of me.
Yeah, and we had talked to Shay a little bit about maybe doing some evaluation of those students or children that were in the program as they enter Libby to try to see where they're at in terms of readiness. Because we try to say like, you know, what, is there a correlation between some of the positive readiness we're seeing at Libby and kids who are involved in this program or kids who weren't? So that's kind of on Shane's radar to see if we could help a little bit with justifying some of the costs of the program. Because of the readiness skills of maybe some of these students compared to students that maybe weren't involved. So that's kind of on Shane's radar. I don't know, Shane, if you have anything to say about that, but.
Yeah, well, I'd like to thank Susan for all she does to begin with. I think reading really does start at birth, and so what she does is huge. And any parents or grandparents who are with kids, if they're singing, talking, or reading to kids, that oral language comes through, and those kids will come into kindergarten or pre-K more prepared than kids that don't hear a lot of the language. And so initially, like we have our early childhood liaison is Mrs. Marquez. And so what we typically screen kids and what we work with kids during the year, and also I guess also at Piccadilly, but the kids that come into Libby, is on their early oral language skills as well. And so we find just huge growth in the little bit of time that we get to work with. I would say 3 hours a week, like a kid that's in the program 3 to 4 hours a week for a whole year. The amount of growth they have in oral language from the beginning to the end. I think last year we had like 522% growth in kids of like how far they can advance on our screeners. So just working with kids every day, talking with them, singing, reading to them or with them, it just prepares them for a great academic experience.
I think we do a better job too, even through Facebook and some of our district websites to get the word out a little bit too on this program, so work with Susan on that. Okay, the next one, the parentguidance.org, we do have a resource that's listed on our website. And I attached a little summary of it, so if people forward our agenda forward, they can see the same thing, but I'm just gonna real quick highlight kind of what's there in terms of this resource. So there is some parent coaching, so it connects parents with a coach or a therapist in terms of what their needs are. It has some courses that are free to parents, and they deal with things like behavior, anxiety, bullying, child development, grief and loss, parent support, self-help, suicide prevention, and even technology. That's a nice kind of on-demand courses. They do have a section of this website that's free where you can ask a specific question and it'll be answered. And they also have a place where other questions were asked and their answers. So if you have a question about something, it might already be there on this website if you want to look for that information. And it also has some kind of self-help or some areas you can get help in terms of suicide prevention hotline. You can call, text, chat, and even in Spanish, and a crisis hotline. So it's really a great resource for parents. It is connected on the front page of our website. If parents want to click on that, they can kind of go through that. And hopefully if there's someone out there, they can actually forward on this agenda item and kind of look and see what's there. So it's just a nice resource that we did put on our website a couple weeks ago. So want to make sure people here or people that watch this online, that's a great resource for parents. So.
Okay, I think I clicked on the website.
This one,
That's a little icon,
parent guidance.
parent guidance, yeah, has a little circle, looks just like this. And that's what you'll see on the
This one,
agenda also, you click on that.
you click on that and it goes to this.
If you click on the agenda, we did link that icon through the agenda also, so if you don't go to the website, you can click right on that parent guidance icon in our agenda and it'll take you to the website.
Yeah.
Not our website, the parent guidance website,
Yeah.
so there is a live link in there. Okay?
And again, it's free help for the parents.
Yeah, yeah, everything's free, yeah, good information for sure.
All right, so next on our agenda is kind of twofold, meet the candidates at the Glendo board meeting. We were gonna talk about whether we wanted to do that again. It was, I know when Sean and I and Jason, Amanda ran,
You guys all came out,
Yeah.
yeah.
and we had that, so do we wanna do that again? That's what, and if so, what does that look like? So you guys tell me.
So I got a question, it says Glendo work session 10/21, but on my calendar, I have work session on the 14th and business meeting on the 21st. Are we combining those into one on the 21st, or is the work session actually the 14th?
I think on my calendar, they're both on the 21st.
Oh.
But
Maybe I was
put them
wrong.
together.
Yeah, remember how we did that before?
Yeah.
That was something that Heather, so we can make sure that's correct, that's the information.
I will verify
Yeah.
that, cause I don't.
So if we do work session prior to business meeting, are we gonna do, what do you have for time? And, or are we gonna do meet the candidates, then work session, then business meeting?
Yes, if that's what we do it would be, and I know
And it would be on the 21st, not the 14th.
we'll verify that
Okay.
with you, but that's what it looks like. Because, and I think usually we try to combine when we go to Glendo because,
Yeah.
so we don't have two
Saves the
trips of
travel
that.
and save the.
Well, that was another question I had because the PTO meeting last week up there, that was a question, whether it was gonna be on the same day or 2 weeks in a row.
Okay. We'll have that out, if not before, it'll be definitely announced at next week's meeting.
And then in terms of the questions, will the current board have some questions, or how
Yeah.
did you do that prior to?
For always.
Yeah, just how that happened before?
And
Since
it
we're
was
We'll
sponsoring
work
it,
on that.
Yeah, it was
We
the
asked for it?
PTO that actually
It was
sponsored it
open,
last
yeah,
time.
and it was
And,
open to the public and they had questions and we
Yeah.
kind of sat back and let you guys talk.
I think we.
What did we call, it was called something, meet and meet and
Meet and greet.
something,
Meet and greet.
I think, does that
Yes.
sound right?
Yep.
It was very informal.
They had great food.
Yeah, and that's kind of why they're wanting to know, if they're.
Alright, so if you have questions to ask prospective board members, please email them to John or I and we'll put them together.
So I guess like there's a quick introduction and then some questions for each person to answer, so I'll answer the same questions, that kind of stuff.
Not really.
It wasn't
was
totally,
more-
It was literally
Open.
meet and greet, mingle.
and we did introduce ourselves, each one of us introduced ourselves, and then whoever wanted to could ask questions, but I like of just at the beginning anyway, having a little bit more formal and having everybody introduced, so maybe we have just 2 or 3 questions and then open it up to everybody, depending on what we get. If we don't get any questions from board members, everybody can ask their own personal questions, but
And maybe something, just, like icebreaker things. Who are you and why you wanna do this and. Something
softball
like that,
questions, get the nerves up.
something like that.
Okay, so we will double check on the date and have that for you guys. Any questions you have that you want to ask of everybody, email them in. Anything else on that?
There's not consideration to moving it previously, like the 14th, because Mike and I will be gone on the 14th. So,
I think we have it on the 21st, both of them, but we'll verify that.
okay.
Alright, so we'll move to item D, the adoptive board member program that we have going on now.
Yeah, so we just talked a little bit about if we wanna put that in play now and then wait and kind of fill in board members who were elected, or do we wanna wait until the election and then kind of redesign how that looks, who goes where in the district? I think it was pretty nice way to communicate. I think the best part about that is you have a purpose to go to the school, you have a purpose to go to the department. It's hard just to show up, you know, and hopefully you got communication through our principals about things that were going on, staff meetings, other kinds of things you made a connection with. I know it's harder when we don't have, when you're connected to like a department instead of the school, but it is a nice open invitation to at least one school. You can go to all those schools you want to, but at least there's one designated that you're gonna be there and you probably get a little more information from that school. So I guess we wanna continue with it, do we try to put it in place now, we wanna wait till after the election? I just don't know what the best option would be. There's probably positive in both, but.
I think, I've been in my stead from the previous adoption, so it makes sense to me with new people coming on that we would reassign at that point.
And after the,
Just kind of carry on.
and December is kind of a busy month, getting new people on and everything, so I can see us starting fresh in January, assigning everybody in
We go
January.
a year, then the next January we go again until the next.
So like the adoptive board is basically calendar year.
Yeah.
What are your
That's
other
good.
thoughts?
So I kind of prompted asking the question if we could revisit it because from last year, whenever I wasn't here the evening that the names were drawn, but I asked if I could not have the middle school, not anything against the middle school, but I had 2 kids there. So this year, wait a minute, before I say that. So last year, my adoptive schools are Glendale and Heath. And I have a kid at Glendale this year, so that's another reason why I would like to mix it up. Somebody else come in and see what it's like or how it works or whatnot. Because again, I already have a kid there, so I'm already naturally gonna spend time there. I also have a kid at high school now, so I mean, I don't have a problem with those 2 because I like to spend time in all the places, but if possible. The other reason, I guess reason for doing it now is we have 3 new positions, potentially 3. if we drew now, then only those 3 places would have to change from now till January. You have 3-4 months that you could already be, because you're gonna take roll in January, have icebreakers with somebody, and then you're gonna be out of school in May.
There's a potential for a mentorship right there too, with what Amanda's proposing.
True, I like that,
There's a chance for a little bit of a baton handoff there as well.
I like that.
So I'm sitting here just kind of,
Yeah.
gears are turning on now, and so,
I like that
I
too.
like that idea.
I'm just
Yeah.
thinking through it, so, I mean, I just assumed that we stayed where we were in our adopted school until we heard differently. So the choices are to do that and reevaluate in January, or to go ahead and reevaluate, say in October, when everybody's here and
Or could we, why does it have to wait till October, could we do it next week? I mean, I don't, there's no rush, I mean, last year we did it in August. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
So you said the mentoring part, like whoever would start, let's say Dustin, when you're off the board, then you would have a little time to
Have just a little
talk
bit
through
of
about
time
the
to
history of your
take- to bring a
department
brand
or your
spanking
school
board member
or-
in. Let's meet up at the school over here.
Yeah.
Walk through, let's go do a
That's
walkthrough,
good.
show you kind of how this piece works.
It's good.
You could either way, I'm just asking.
yeah, so is that,
Direction, so.
Yeah,
Is that
I'm
the-
good either way.
Same,
the
I'm
will of
just
the
asking.
majority that we wanna go ahead and change up next Monday?
Yeah, we can do that.
I think so.
Okay.
We'll do that.
Okay, next, the Activities Athletic Committee. And so it was asked that we talk about this. Do you want to,
So, yeah, this was prompted by me too, sorry. So, Sean and I are both on the activities and athletics committee, and with the change of AD to ADs, and then used to be, we had 1 AD, so they reported to the high school principal, but now we have 2 ADs, so there's 2 principals, so anyway. Who's on the athletic and activities committee and what do you want us to do? It's basically point blank the question that I have. And who's the ringleader?
which begs the question is that what's the purpose of the athletic activity committee, and do we need to have it anymore?
I'm just, again, I don't have a problem with any of it, I just,
Anybody wanna share that's been, I don't know, Josh, do you have a history of it, or Mick, have you been part of it, or has it been a kind of the focus of this committee, has it always been kind of a hot topic and you've met to kind of resolve issues as you go, or what was the main purpose of it?
So the initial was to determine, or you want me to take this, Josh?
Go for it.
Okay. The initial was to determine things like how many coaches you should have based on the number of kids. So we wrote policy on that, and then we started hiring it, and then there was about 50 different ways that was,
Interpreted?
interpreted. Well, this year, that's an 8, no, that's a full coach, no, that's a maybe, okay. Well, we're gonna go off last year's numbers. And so I think we're trying to get more consistent. That was step one, and then how we're hiring coaches and how many we actually need for each activity. The second thing is the number of coaches overall to set the baseline. Like, does football need 5 to start with, and then we set a number where we add a 6th. Does wrestling, now that we have girls wrestling, need 2 boys coaches and 2 girls coaches? Because the middle school will be going at the same time. I think the girls might be going after Christmas now. So those are the type of questions that we have to answer. And I think the third thing would probably be with the new salary schedule and the fact that I think the majority of our coaches have been frozen for since 2018 at least. Getting that fixed, either unfrozen or even if you keep them frozen, move them up to the new base. That'd probably be another topic. And then the other thing would probably be, the last thing would probably be the, handling the population of the community, how we're outsourcing what's happening. In the past, we've done activities calendars, we're currently working on doing that again. We're also trying to incorporate music, the plays and the FFA events onto that particular calendar, so people that don't necessarily rely on technology for those things, cause we're still in a community with a large population that does that, having something they can see and know what's going on. So I think that's the basis.
Sounds like that's a pretty good leader right there.
The other thing is the coach's sponsors handbook, we need to revise and make sure it's updated.
Okay.
So how often would you meet normally? Would it be quarterly? Would you try to meet more than that, or?
Well, it just depends on the issues, like, okay, we need to have a meeting because this came up, we'll get together. We can get together every month and say, hey, this is what's happening, are we good? And then maybe you have to meet again in 2 weeks, maybe you don't meet again for till the next month, or maybe you skip a month, kind of just based on what you need. Or what's coming up, because you just never know. I mean, we've added girls wrestling, indoor track, softball, there's so many more things going on now, trying to keep consistent. Obviously, when you add things, you take away from something else, so your numbers are more spread out now. There's a whole lot of things that we can discuss and try and fix.
I don't think it's real clear right now, like, do we add a coach's aid because it costs a little less, and when do we do that? Does it matter what level the kids are at, or what sports they're at, or is it, there's not, I haven't heard of any, like, process involved in that. So that would probably be one right out of the chute. If we have something, we just need to share it so we're all aware of it. So I don't know if the recommendation is like, you first look at a coach's aid to help with some numbers, or do we do that more at the junior high level, middle school level, or does it matter what level it is? Those are questions that I have.
The hard part seems like you're always chasing the numbers, cause you don't know what you have going in.
And then
You try to base it off the previous year and it's like, whoa, where did these kids come from? Everyone came out and you get a 15 kid jump. Well, by the policy, 13's you're supposed to have another one. So then it becomes, can it be an aid? Or if it's like the basketball or volleyball teams, it's like, well, that's a whole new team. Now it's a C team, so it's more than an aid. They have a whole new team to be. But
Then you gotta get fingerprinted, right? You gotta make
Yeah.
sure they're certified, so there's always a little lag time
Yeah.
on these, so.
Well,
I'll give you an example where it comes into play. Let's say you have 35, and 37 is the magic number to add the fourth coach. So you're gonna leave 18 kids home to practice, you're gonna send 17 kids on the road. How do you decide? Do you leave 2 coaches home to coach, or do you try to put one in charge of 18? Do you send 2 coaches on the road, because if somebody gets hurt and the coach is alone, how do you handle that? So if you have the aid, because you're too short, they can at least travel to be there. Problem is that they're gonna have to be the one that leaves because there won't be a certified. Typically your aides aren't certified coaches, so now those are just what ifs, but it's a liability thing, and it's way better to be safe than maybe sorry.
I think a couple times last year, we tried to open things up early, and then we have people like in the hopper, so we don't have to wait until, open something up and then open it for 2 or 3 days internally, and then time we interview, or a week or two into the season, and pretty soon we're halfway through a middle school season before we get somebody. So we can be a little more proactive in some of those. If we think there's gonna be a need, we can open them up, but we don't hire until we validate the numbers. So I mean, I think it'd be good. I just really haven't seen a lot of the process for us to approve. It's always like, well, we have these numbers, what do you recommend? And I think we have ADs that make recommendations, right? They're working there, they're talking to the coaches, the day-to-day stuff. Just like indoor track, this is a good example where we approved that position, but we didn't really know the season, right offhand, because it's new to us. So I asked Mick to say, hey, where does this fit within our extra duty? And we'll have that coming forward in September to say, we can't really advertise that position until we say what area it's gonna be connected to. Like, is it similar to cross country, or is it similar to golf, is it similar to basketball season, what is it? So there's just a lot of work. I think that's why we're paying these guys to do the day-to-day stuff and make recommendations to me and the board.
okay.
So it sounds like it's a pretty valuable committee if we have maybe the right person leading it and kind of prioritizing those things right up front.
Right.
And then did we have parents involved? Cause I can see 2 ADs, 2 principals, 2 board members, right? That's 6.
Yeah, we have had in the past.
Couple other coaches maybe, cause you and Blaine both coach.
Yeah.
So it'd be up to you, whatever you think in terms of committee size.
I mean, we can come with the coaches' concerns if they wanna be a part of it, we can ask them.
Yeah.
Mostly what they're gonna want is as much help as they can get based on their numbers.
I think safety is always a concern, right, to be safe,
Safety and
That's a
liability,
real-
those two things.
and how we do with the activities, because that comes into play too, cause we see this as a coach and that's athletic, but we've heard a lot about, what about band, what about some of these bigger programs? Sometimes they hear like, we should have another person also, so we just told the principals, if there's a safety need, maybe you pull in somebody, maybe ask some parent volunteers. Maybe we do hourly pay for those people that we need to have available, that's a conversation we had last year at the middle school, so. I think that'd be another one to add to your list. How we're gonna handle it.
FFA was huge too, when Bryce had FFA and had like 70-some kids and he was operating pretty much alone, I think, yeah, Mr. Christian helped him with some of the business side of things a little bit, but that's an awful lot of kids to have in your program working alone.
Especially when they go to state convention,
Right.
somebody ends up in the ER in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's happened.
So does that clarify a little bit about that committee and?
Okay, so just to overview, Mr. Cochran and Mr. Epple. Amanda, I'm sorry, I know you don't like Miss Fox.
Oh, yeah.
And Sean.
No.
And then who else is on the committee? Is it Josh and Robert? Okay, alright. Okay, and then, we're gonna put Nick as chair, is that?
I think, yeah, Mick's willing to.
Sure.
He has a great history of it, kinda knows,
Yeah.
kinda ins and out of it, and then we can report out on the board members would report out during the board meetings, right?
Yeah.
And then part of it, so we'll,
Yeah.
everybody's up to date on what's going on, what you talked about, and you can always fill in with that too, Mick.
I ran into Mick at a Booster Club meeting a few weeks ago and I gave him a heads up that I was gonna be asking of what the plan is.
Yeah, I like it. That's what, and we've talked about it before, committee meetings are not bad unless you're just having a meeting to have a meeting. Those are bad. If you have a goal and you have a plan, then we need to have committees, so that's perfect.
It seemed like we kinda stalled out last year, cause maybe we didn't have the goals of the program or some of the things we were trying to make recommendations on.
And then once the
Pretty-
policies were done. They worked hard on the policies, got that done. All right, everybody good on the athletic committee? All right, now we're gonna talk about the survey for the superintendent evaluation. So it's almost time for evaluation again, it will be in October. There were some questions on getting information out to the community at large as well as the district, is that correct?
Yep, this one's me too, sorry. So some feedback that I have gotten at the district level is that maybe that the survey that we are using should be different than the survey that is being sent out to department heads and admins. Because they are working with a different relationship than we are.
That's, I will agree with that, it is a different relationship.
So I think that survey and that evaluation tool needs to be reworked. Maybe something general in the form of do you think your boss communicates well? Do you have enough time? Are you pushed to do better? Is there something lacking? You know, general questions like that more so than I feel this is more geared towards the board and maybe some to admin, but not all the department.
Well, I just wanted, in the superintendent evaluation tool that was presented by the committee and brought to the board and voted and approved by the board, it says the district leadership team will be given the opportunity to score the benchmarks with written feedback to the school board individually prior to the initial and summative evaluations of the superintendent each year. Standard 2, instructional and assessment leadership. Standard 3, developing and supporting a learning organization. And Standard 5, efficient and effective management will be the standards and benchmarks the district leadership team will score and give feedback to the school board. The school board may request feedback from the district leadership team from standard and benchmarks in addition to standard 2, 3, and 5. So,
When we met as a committee, Josh, you kind of took this on a little bit. Can you just fill us in about what that looks like? I haven't seen the survey, so I don't know.
Right.
So what, like, did you look at benchmarks per standard?
So we picked
Yes, but yes,
those 3 areas
Yep.
as the areas that we work directly with you as the superintendent in those day-to-day operational things. So that's why it's stated like that, is that is, I think, more of what you're asking about is like, does he encourage us to strive to improve our instructional leadership in our buildings? As a team, does he push us to find those extra little pieces that we can be better at? And so those are the three dimensions that we said that our focus would be on. And then I believe we talked about, then as a board, you would always evaluate number 1, I believe, and then pick at least one other dimension, so you're trying to hit multiple different layers each cycle.
Okay.
But every director, right, it's kind of like the director of maintenance, the director of technology, the director of transportation, they get the same survey as the school principals, correct?
Yeah,
Yeah.
and that's where
Because maybe the learning's not something.
maintenance and the
Right.
bus garage aren't gonna work on these benchmarks for, they're, you know what I'm saying, like but then you run into, you are critiquing your boss. And that can get a little hairy of an area. But those, I think, are more of the those are the important questions that you're trying to ask, you know, let's refer it to a different business, and we'll use insurance. You know, are your customers happy with how things are going? You want their feedback, you want how they feel. But they don't really wanna tick off their insurance agent either, you know.
It's anonymous, I don't see it, so.
not a
You know
good
what I'm saying,
example,
though?
everybody
Oh, yeah,
knows
oh, yeah.
their insurance agent.
So is it really our district leadership team departments you're looking for, just something different, so like Blaine, Marie, Jamie, Shannon maybe could give you a little more feedback beyond the actual benchmarks that are listed in the evaluation? Is that what you're looking for? Cause I think when you get outside of that,
I think it just needs to be a lot more general, like it
Well, and there
doesn't
is-
have to be as sophisticated as
There's free-form boxes too, you know, that they can, would you like to put anything in here? Basically, I don't remember exactly how it's stated, but
But how many read non-applicable?
only it was one of so we sent out 15, we got 7 back from the administrative team. And only one had that they didn't think that the benchmarks applied to them. One had on 2 different topics, if I remember correctly.
But that could be why some of the others weren't filled out.
I can tell the only reason one person told me they didn't fill out because they feel like that's not their role to evaluate the superintendent, that was their own personal perspective.
Yeah.
Which they have a
And
right
I
to fill
think-
it out or not, I wish everybody would, but you have that right, they don't have to, we're not making it mandatory. But I do
I
think
think-
maybe you can add to it, maybe there's certain things the board wants to know, is like
Yeah.
John approachable. Well, approachable when Blaine calls or Jim calls, or is that a big one for the board, like, you could pick out things like that and add to the survey. So
And
if
this
it doesn't go in there.
And this isn't all like my opinion. Remember, I'm the mediator sometimes between the things. This is not one of those areas where it's necessarily my
Okay,
opinion.
Well, and I think sometimes we get bogged down in this, it seems like we've had this conversation a couple of times. And I hope that everybody in the district knows that they can contact us anytime with questions or comments they have about John, but by policy and by law, it's our job as a board to evaluate him. Their input is good to have, but it's not necessary for us to do our job. We still have to do our job. So, I felt like I needed to say that for Shauna, because I knew she would say it since she's not here tonight. So what do we need to just add a few free form questions to this, and Josh, I'm gonna have to come see you very quickly, cause we need it back for the October meeting.
I mean, you could add we could call it a standard, you could add a standard that was for whatever support staff, operational type of questions that you wanted to have. I mean, we could add a piece in there.
I don't know, I think at one point, the board wanted to know people's input.
Oh,
and I still do.
I'm not saying that we don't, I'm just saying I don't wanna get bogged down in, we still have to do our job.
Willing.
And representing our stakeholders is one of our jobs, so.
Agreed.
Do you think, Amanda, that you could come up with anything specific?
Sure.
Because it's kind of a here and now thing, so that
I'm
might
gonna work
be
the next
good.
2 days, but I can work on that.
I'd like to see a couple work with Amanda and at least one other person, and then get a couple of questions that maybe we can talk about on Monday night, and then I can give it to, or we can get it to Josh to finish up to get the note out to the team.
Okay, that's good. I'd be willing to discuss some thoughts with her.
Okay, so if any of the other members have questions or thoughts on that, please talk to Diane or Amanda. Okay, good?
One more. So, and then this will still go to all of us ahead of the October meeting?
Yes, it'll probably go out after next week's board meeting.
We are working on, and it's marked.
And you can,
The one
I can send it to you, I have it in electronic format, or it's the same one that, because this is the full one, we're just doing benchmarks. 1, 4, and 7, 5, 1, 5, and 7.
Yeah.
All right, anything else on the superintendent evaluation? Okay, all right, and I just wanna take just a quick minute on the fall roundup that we went to in Douglas. It was really cool, they always do a good job, but they had some financial reports about the like Wyoming economic situation and things like that. And anybody can look at this if they want to, and like our ADM money and things. But they also had this little, if anybody wants the QR code for all of the information that we had, I wanted to make sure you guys could all do that. And there was some really cool information in there, I thought they did a really good job. And explaining school finance they did a really good job on that, so. Just wanted to let you guys know we have the information here, if you want it, you can read it, or you can QR it. All right, last, middle school welding trailer.
So I think you just wanna know like the status of it, I don't know, Robert and Jim, do you have any additional information or just?
It's kind of been moved out of the way while they were doing the roof, and we were trying to find a location where we could hook it up to three-way, what's it called again?
Three-phase electric.
Three-phase electrical. But also we need to look at what's a good location for flow. Because if we move it over by the mechanical room, then it's completely separated from where we have all of our agriculture and current ag classes. And there isn't an outdoor access really on that side of the building where it could be hooked up easily. And then you gotta think about traffic inside and in and out. And so it's just kinda, yeah, I'd love to hook it up and get it going, but it's just a matter of logistics really. And cost to get it hooked up and. What, I miss anything?
The big thing is the cost side. If we put it on the one down by the mechanical room, there's not great access and everything, but it'd still be around $7,000. If we put it towards the middle school or the gym side over there where everything else is, which would be the ideal location, I think. That's it costs us about $30,000 just because of the size of the copper wire we gotta run all the way through the school to get it to that end of the building. So that's the big catch, is really the cost and how we're gonna cover that. So we've got a plan in place for both of them, just don't know how to pay for it.
So is the $30,000 in additional to the grant money that the
Yes.
ag teacher spoke about in December?
I have a question about the new welders in the ag program. Where are the old welders gonna go? Do we have an idea? Will they go to the middle school, or is there a need for
I would
that?
think we would wanna save anything, I mean, they're still operational, I would say, especially for the trailer. If anything went out in there, we could swap it out, and get a few more years out of the ones that we're taking out of the shop.
And how many actual like booths are there in the trailer? I've never been in it, so I don't know.
I think there's eight.
Eight?
And how many welders are at the high school? Approximately. It's been a long time since I've been in the ag room.
We have 10 booths, and then we have that welder bank that we got from power plant, so there's
There's quite a few.
4 or 6 in there. And then there's probably what I would say more portable ones that are, I don't know, probably 3 or 4 of those.
How many kids did we send, do you know, offhand, from the middle school for ag mechanics and welding last year? There were at least 4 or 5 that I know of.
That went over for the day.
Mhm.
Oh, yeah, it's probably about 7.
Yeah.
And
Boys
Yeah.
and girls.
yeah, they loved it. And what was awesome about that is Josh's kids taught them how to use it all. And it was they were like stoked. They love making fire. Middle school.
And that the older kids are taking time for them, it's gotta speak
Yeah.
volumes too.
Yep, and Mr. Dallas did a good job of getting them there, talking about safety, and the kids kind of went through the safety expectations of what would be happening out there when they were welding, and yeah, it went very well.
And Jim, what were your thoughts on funding in terms of your department, or any options?
I think what we learned today, actually, we got some of that money we could,
Safety, consider safety?
that free, that we can use on whatever they said.
Yeah.
That'd be one option. The actual major maintenance we can't use because we haven't had a welding. So that's kind of a.
So you're saying there's a chance?
So we might go check into the depreciation fund, because that has to do with our assets. So if we add on to our assets, that might be something the board could approve and move forward with that, because we put some money away in that new account. Would the board be willing to look at that
Yes,
as an option?
I would like to see it on paper what it's gonna cost and have a request for the board to look at it. Just because I think having it where it needs to be for the kids' access, in my opinion, makes more sense, even though it's gonna cost more upfront.
I would agree with you. It's just it's a hefty bill to.
Just take it out of your budget?
And I'll be buying the entire budget.
That was 6 months ago before copyright.
That's right, yeah.
And possibly in the meantime, while we're getting this taken care of, maybe do a crossover again, if that's possible.
Yeah, I think we can definitely do I can set something up, well, Mr. Teaton and Mr. Dallas could set something up, have the kids go over and we can look at it. Right now, we have the virtual welding machine that the kids use,
Okay,
and I mean, it's okay, but it's nothing like seeing the spark actually fly when you touch the metal.
yeah.
Yeah,
Like
it kind of,
Realize
It's
there's
nothing like actually
adrenaline
burning
rush.
your finger when you touch it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Cause you just got to.
But yeah, definitely doing that introduction to welding for those kids, because the majority of those kids are in there because they wanna do the welding. And
And right now,
yeah, and it would be a good introduction, really. I don't know, it would prepare them for what's expected in high school.
Good.
And probably get them a little bit ahead when it comes to CTE programs and like, what do they call that when they focus on welding and,
Concentrator.
yeah, that's it. That's what it's, yeah, the concentrator.
I think that would be great. Bring us something, we'll vote on
You talking to Jim or me?
it. Whoever wants to do it.
Look right at-
Please,
I think it's-
Yeah, you're in line.
I'm in line.
Somebody get us some numbers.
We'll do that.
Just a side note, another option we could use, probably more major maintenance, we run a whole new circuit for the greenhouse. Because we're replacing the greenhouse, if I ran a whole new circuit from the mechanical for the greenhouse, cause it needs 3-phase there too. Then all we'd have to do would be pay from basically that greenhouse to the trailer, so then we could run it under major maintenance. Cause it wouldn't be a bad thing to have it under a whole new circuit anyway, from where they were.
Put it down on paper, give us the options, let us look at it.
So how far away, I'm not, I know where the greenhouse, I saw where the foundation was kind of poured, but are you thinking right next to that? Is that close to where the shop is at?
Yeah,
That trailer's pretty much parked right out,
right outside the
right
shop
next
door.
door.
Yeah.
So if we ran power to the greenhouse on a whole new circuit, we'd do major maintenance to pay for that. So out there.
I like that too.
Good thing.
Yeah,
We have a couple options.
perfect.
Alright, thank you for
Yeah.
looking
Alright, so looking at the agenda, we have nothing further. Unless anybody have questions, comments?